All right, hello everyone. As you may guess, this is not the way that I wanted to start our second week of school, but it is what it is, so let's see if we can make the most of it. Today you will get two videos on your Canvas assignments. This first one will be the notes, so make sure you're on the right worksheet. It's the rational and irrational numbers notes. We're going to fill in this page together on this video. And then the next video, I'm going to do like one of the problems on the worksheet, and then you're going to do the next one, and then we'll keep going back and forth like that on that next video. All right, so the first one, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to do this in pen because it usually shows up a little bit better. So let's go ahead and knock this out. All right, so we're talking about rational and irrational numbers. And of course, my pen won't work. There we go. All right. So this first section is talking about the number 0. And in math, 0 is equal to nothing. So anytime you see the word nothing, or you need to describe the word 0, it's nothing, or it's equal to 0, all right? So that's plain and simple. But now let's talk about some things we may not know. So 0 is not positive or negative. Now look, I'm going to zip through this pretty quick because this is all pretty much plain and simple forward stuff. But don't be afraid to pause this to get your words written in and get this filled in. All right, next, 0 does not have an opposite number. We'll talk about opposite numbers a little further down. Yeah, a little further down on this worksheet, but 0 does not have an opposite. Again, we'll talk about that in more detail. All right, next, we're going to graph the following on a number line and compare. So, excuse me, we're going to graph -3 and 2. So let's see, I'm going to do 0, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, 1, 2, 3. All right, so I'm going to call this right here 0, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then I've got -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7. All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to do this first one right here. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to graph these two numbers. So I'm going to do -3 and 2. All right, so that's simple, right? Now we're going to compare them. Basically, we're going to say which one is greater. So if I've got -3 and +2, we're looking for the number that is farther to the right on the number line, which is 2, and that number is greater. The alligator is going to eat the bigger number. I think y'all probably all remember that. All right, I'm going to try to do this in a different color. All right, so next let's do -4 and -7. This is one that gets a little more difficult for some people. There's -4 and -7. So now we're going to figure out which one is greater. Well, again, we look for the number that is farther to the right on the number line. So in this case, it's -4. So if I've got -7 and -4, need it like that. If you wrote -4 first, that's fine as long as this mouth is turned around eating the -4. So for instance, it could look like that right there. So these two right here mean the same thing, because if you want to use the alligator scenario, the alligator is eating -4 here, and the alligator is eating -4 there. And let me see if I can get my black pen to work now. Yeah, there we go. So now I'm doing 5 and -6. I'm going to go to 5. And I'm going to go to -6. I'm talking about 5 and -6. So again, if you want to put the 5 first, you can. Just make sure that 5 is farther to the right. So the alligator is eating the 5. Again, if you did it the other way around, then the alligator is eating the 5 in that one. So these two things right here basically mean the same thing, even though they're written. All right, so next let's talk about absolute value. absolute value. So the blank of a number is its distance from 0. So the absolute value of a number is its distance from 0. Keep in mind this, you can never have a negative number as a distance. For instance, if I drive to school in the morning, it's about 5 miles. Well, when I turn around and drive home, I don't drive negative 5 miles, I still drive 5 miles. So it's 5 miles to work, it's 5 miles to home from work, not negative, all right? So the notation for absolute value is bars with a number in the middle. So a bar on each side of a number is the notation, or what it looks like, okay? So using the number line, find the absolute value of each. So the first one we're going to do is 5. So I'm going to make that 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 0, and there's 5. So now, how far away is 5 from 0? Well, we're just going to count. Starting at 5 or starting at 0, it doesn't matter. Remember, our answer has to be a positive number. So how many spaces is it from 0 to 5? So starting at 0, but I'm not going to count 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the absolute value of 5 is 5. All right? So let's do negative 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's negative 8. So how many spaces is it from negative 8 to 0? Again, I cannot have a negative number. All I care about is how many spaces it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it is 8 spaces, or the absolute value of negative 8 is 8. The more of these you do, you'll realize your answer over here cannot be negative. It has to be positive. So if you're looking for an absolute value of a positive number, your answer is going to be positive. If you're looking for the absolute value of a negative number, your answer is still going to be positive. All right, now this is different on this next section. Now we're looking for the opposite of a number. The opposite of a number is the same distance from 0. Both numbers have the same absolute value. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So we're looking for the opposite of 2. So there's 2. Well, the absolute value of 2 is 2. Well, what is the absolute value of the number the same distance away, negative 2? It's still going to be 2, right? So the distance from 0 to 2 is 1, 2. The distance from 0 to negative 2 is 1, 2. So the opposite of 2 is negative 2. So now we're changing the sign. Absolute value, your answer has to be positive. Opposite of a number, it's the opposite sign of what I'm looking at. So we're not going to do the number line for the opposite of negative 11, because all we have to do is change the sign. So the opposite of negative 11 is positive 11. And we do not have to worry about this bottom part. So that takes care of our notes. Your next video for today will show you some of the ones that we have to do on our worksheet.